guys, Emily here, and welcome back to 6 Creative Girls. Now this week's theme is like life story or draw my life, and since I don't feel like remembering all the contents of my life all together twice for drawing and the voiceover, I'm just gonna tell you my life story. This is probably going to be the longest out of anyone's on this channel because a lot has happened in the past 12 years of my life. So disclaimer, if I run out of storage on my phone and I can't record my whole thing, I will have to like write it down or like type it and then like put it on the screen. And I'm sorry about this lighting, it's like 7 a.m. I just woke up, that's why I look so tired. But I felt like just recording this video so that I had enough time to like just chill today. So I was born January 20th, 2005, which makes me today 12. And as I said, a lot has happened in the past a little bit more than a decade. And I have a sister, Avery, who is 4 years older than me. I don't really remember anything from the first few years of my life, and what I do know is that my parents were divorced when I was about 3 years old, which made my sister 7. So when you're like 7 years old, you kind of know how to comprehend things and like you remember stuff. So my sister had to go to therapy. I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea what was happening. I was 3 years old. I didn't know what was going on. Like, and that's kind of what gives me issues later. And like, I'll talk about that later. So, like, first thing I knew was like, oh, we're all in one house, and oh, now we're in 2 houses. So my mom has stayed in the same house for the past 16 plus years, and I love this house. It's the house I'm in right now. It's gone through a lot of changes, but it's still the same house and it's still amazing. But my dad moved to this small 2-bedroom apartment, and so I had a room all to myself, even though it was 3 people living in a 2-bedroom. I had a bunk bed all to myself, which was great. And my sister slept on the couch, which probably wasn't the best of sleeping situations, but it was all that we really had. I mean, my sister and I, up until about 2 years ago, we kind of didn't really like each other at all. So that's why I don't really talk about my sister until like, you know, like more recent times. Yeah, she had to sleep on the couch. I had a bunk bed all to myself. The only time she would sleep in my room was on Christmas. My dad could put presents under the tree, of course. And so we lived in there for a few years, and then we moved to this farm. We moved in with a family, and the mother, she would later become my stepmom. Now, the family we moved in with was a mom and 2 teenage daughters. Now, I had a strong relationship with one of them, but not so much the other one. And so it was Kelly, who was the younger one, and Allison, who was the older one. And fun fact, Allison actually wrote a book and was on the news in my town because she was 15 years old when she wrote that book. And it's called Enlightened, and I read it as like a 3rd grader, and it was so good, honestly. It was just really good. But that was a kind of like, that was off track. I need to get back on track. But, we moved into this big house. It was really big. Like, not like a mansion, but it was, you know, big for like me as like a 1st grader, I think, by this time. And I had a room all to myself. I don't remember where Avery's room was because we didn't really try to interact with each other because whenever we did, it always resulted in a fight. But I just cannot remember where her room was. Like, did she even have a room? Bless me. And so, it was just a really big house, and I loved it. It was on this farm called Grace Farms, and Grace is actually my middle name, so you can imagine all the jokes. So, on this farm, it was a horse farm. Like, there was nothing else. Because according to my stepmom, the dog ate all the chickens, and something happened to the cows. There's this dog on the farm, Stanley. I love Stanley. And his growth was stunted as a puppy because a horse stepped on his back. And for some reason, that's so funny to me, and it really shouldn't be. But it is. And I'm sorry if I, like, sound nasally, but, like, my nose is clogged. There was also, like, 2 cats who, one ran away and one died. But I didn't really care about the pets that much. I mean, I like Stanley because he was a dog. But we lived at the farm for like a year, and then we moved into this small 3-bedroom in a really small neighborhood in like a cul-de-sac. I really liked that house because, you know, I had my bunk bed. That bunk bed I keep talking about is going to be the same, and I actually just recently got rid of that bunk bed. But you'll understand how I kind of like kept it. This was just like a normal like 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and like it had a bay window, which I love bay windows. This house had one, but it was in my dad's office area, so I didn't really go in that much. But it was just kind of like an open space that like probably was supposed to be used for a dining room, but we never really have family over. This is the part where now you would understand how I kept the bunk bed with me. My dad had a garage sale, and I said I didn't want the bottom part of my bunk bed. Keep in mind, that was the bigger part of my bunk bed that I said I didn't want. Obviously, I was not thinking about the future, but the top bunk was like a twin size. I thought that was all I needed. It was at the time. So my dad sold the bottom bunk, and then I was left with the basically just a twin bed, which I literally kept it for like a lot of years. But yeah, so that bunk bed I should have thought about how big I would get, like how tall I would get, how maybe in the future I wouldn't want a twin size bed. Maybe I thought I would get a new bed in the future, but whatever. So, then, like, a while after that, we moved in. Again, wait. Oh, my timeline's all messed up. I don't know when we moved, but I don't know when we move, like in this time period. I don't know when we moved from the farm to that house and back to the farm. I don't remember. I know the house was a rental, which was sad because it was a really pretty house. I liked it. Yeah, and so then we moved back to the farm for a while, and then we moved into a new house with the same family, which is kind of when I kind of registered in like my now 2nd grade brain that, hey, this lady is my stepmom, these are my stepsisters. But like I was really confused because I thought every wedding was like supposed to be like formal and stuff, but they probably just got like legally married and then that was it. So it was such a pretty house is what we moved into. 5-bedroom, 3.5 bathroom. I always talk about how many bedrooms and bathrooms there are because in this one there were so many. Remember the two stepsisters, and then there was also me and Avery. So when you went up the stairs, you would go around and you would pass the master bedroom, then there would be like a fork. And there was like a wall in the middle. There were 2 bedrooms and a bathroom on this side, and 2 bedrooms and a bathroom on this side. Now, Avery and I chose this side, which had a really like childishly painted bedroom, which was kind of small, but it also had the hugest, the biggest closet I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, I love that closet, and like being like 7 and 8 years old, I would play with my Barbies all the time in there. And around 3rd grade time, I would FaceTime Madeline on my iPod, and we would play Barbies together over FaceTime because we both had like iPods. I loved that house, but the thing was, Avery and I's bathroom had like Finding Nemo stickers all over it. Like that was like the theme in that bathroom. It was the weirdest thing, and I still don't understand why we didn't like take it down. But I can still remember how all of the houses and apartments we've been in have been laid out. I can still remember, like, because I just do. And so then, remember how big of a house I said this was? What we downgraded to was, like, we, like, really downgraded. So we went from this big, like, 5-bedroom house to a 2-bedroom. We were no longer living with my former stepmom and stepsisters. We were not attached to that family at all anymore. So that was the 2nd divorce. So then in this 2-bedroom, remember, 3 people living in the 2-bedroom apartment. So that meant Avery and I had to share the master bedroom because we couldn't fit 2 people into like the regular bedroom because it was like really small. But this is the time where we kind of figure out the other sibling isn't terrible because Avery and I start to become friends around this time. And this is why I say Avery's been my friend for 2 years, when like other people are like, your sisters, haven't you been friends forever? No, we hated each other. Like, this is when we started becoming friends. I was in 4th grade, and I was, again, in the twin-sized top bunk. And so I had my twin bed on one side of the room, and then my sister had her big, like, queen bed on the other side. This kind of where my life goes downhill, so to say. Like, mental-wise. This is where I start to kind of become really self-conscious about my appearance and just how I am. Now, this is where I get into my depression that has still weighed me down today. It went from appearance to now you'll know. I'll talk about it later. But mental stuff aside, even though I just briefly talked about it, this is where another person comes into my life. My dad gets a girlfriend. Her name is Stephanie. She is now my stepmom since February. Now, okay, I realize I haven't been talking about my mom at all in this video, and that's because things stay really the same with my mom, and things more drastically change on my dad's side of my life, so that's why I'm talking about it. And so, what was I talking about? Stephanie is great, and now she's my stepmom, and she's so much better than my last stepmom because I never really had a connection with my first stepmom. But Stephanie gets along with, like, me and my dad and my sister. It's great. Now, after this apartment, we moved into a slightly bigger apartment that was just below the one we were staying in previously. It was a 3-bedroom, so I finally had a room to myself. And I'm sorry if you hear the train, but it's, like, passing by and I can't really, like, stop that, and I'm not gonna pause filming for a stupid train. So I finally had a room to myself, still had my twin bed, and this apartment has its own set of problems. Like, that apartment complex has like a sugar ant infestation, and so they'd literally be everywhere. Like, you'd find them on your hairbrush, on your toothpaste, and, like, in the sink, and in the kitchen, and, like, they were everywhere. And I hated it, because I hate bugs. And, I forgot to mention this, but in the very first apartment, at the very beginning of this video, I didn't mention how there was either a centipede or a millipede infestation, which I think kind of, like, brings in my fear of bugs, because I was, like, small and seeing these little, like, weird leggy creatures everywhere. That's probably one of the reasons why we moved out of those apartments. But this one has the ant infestation, so that was great. Nothing really happened that year that we were, like, in there. And the thing, other than Steffi started, like, living with us, and Avery and I got closer. But one thing, I keep forgetting to mention things. These are some side stories. In 3rd grade, I was in a minor car wreck with my grandma, my sister, and me. I refer to my grandma as Gram, so if you hear me call her Gram during the story, that's why. So my grandma, my sister, and I were in a certain part of town where like, it was like a different town, but it was just, like, right next to it, so it was basically just, like, another part of town. And so it was where my grandma grew up, I think. And we, had a fun day. We went to a playground, just, like, hang out, and then we went to this cute little restaurant that I can't remember the name of for some reason. And then we, like, visited, like, the old pool and stuff, which now I think they're, like, redoing it. But then my grandma, she was driving down a road, and then she was like, oh, there's, like, another way I want to go. And because, like, she had, like, somewhere she wanted to take us. And so she, like, you know how some people, like, they drive into driveways and then back out and then go the way they want to go? That's what my grandma was trying to do. But while the rear of her car was still a little bit out of that driveway, another car came speeding and hit the back of her car and, to say the least, spun it around. He hit on the driver's side, which my sister and I were sitting on the passenger side. I was in the back seat. Grandma had temporary hearing loss in her left ear because of the airbag. It hit her ear, and obviously we're all in shock, but I don't know, it's just kind of like a thing that happened. And yeah, and so then in 4th grade, also, this is another side story, the second one, around 3rd grade I became more involved in Little's pet shop stuff, and Madeline knows, because she's stuck with me for so long. She knows about this phase. It's a bad time. I don't want to go back to the LPS thing. So I had this friend, Miriam, who was also very very much loved the, like, LPS and stuff. And so we had this, well, actually, I don't think I was a part of this account, but she had this account at the time that was an LPS account, and she had a picture up, and it wasn't hers, and she said, she had said, like, oh, I don't know whose picture this is. If it's yours, just tell me and I'll give you credit. But she's like, but I like the picture. And so then this person came, like, attacking her and was like, it's like, this is my picture, give me credit now. And then, like, just, like, saying really rude things. And then, Miriam wasn't at her phone for a while because she was cleaning that day because, she was, like, cleaning the house. And then, so she wasn't there to, like, say, like, hey, this is this person's picture. But then she was like, the person was like, give me credit, like, being very mean and saying, like, other rude things. Then, like, they DM'd Miriam, said really rude stuff to her, and then she, said some mean things back, and, like, said that, oh, I was cleaning the house, you being very rude, like, and, like, said a certain insult, not allowed to say, but, and then then the person who wanted credit for the picture posted a picture of something. I don't remember if it was their direct message conversation or if it was, like, just a random picture, but saying, like, oh, this person is terrible, like, they won't give me credit for this picture. And then I went, like, defending my friend, and I was like, and then, because everyone was, like, basically, like, harassing her on there, like, and without, like, tagging her or anything, but, like, they were still saying, like, oh, she's so mean, she's this, she's that, but, like, things I'm not allowed to say again. But, keep in mind, my friend Miriam was, like, 13 at the time, so she had a lot more life experience than I did, so she wasn't, like, the same age as me, but, so they were calling her all these mean things, and I was like, stop saying those, like, she didn't do anything wrong, stop calling her all those mean things. And then that's where I was brought into the situation, and so then, like, then person was like, what, these insults? And, like, listed out a string of choice words. And then I was like, yeah, but you're saying that stuff to an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old, which in that dumb person's mind, it registered as I was the 13-year-old and Miriam was the 11-year-old. No, actually, that's incorrect. But then that was just something I don't really remember much of, but then I was also brought into more LPS, like, fights and stuff where I was called stupid and stuff. And then, so, then in, like, 5th grade, my friends and I were targeted, were targets of cyberbullying. It basically started when we started a group account, because, you know, we were all friends, and it was me and I don't know if the friends want to be named. I'll just say, like, this friend and this friend. Started with this group account. Then there was this account who first messaged one of my friends and basically telling her to kill herself, that she was ugly, and that I think it was this one, she said for her to shoot herself, and just, like, all this stuff. And then, so obviously that friend, she took a screenshot of it, sent it to us, like, freaking out. She was like, this person messaged me, like, and this was so rude. And so then a little bit after, I got a message from an account I didn't know. I just got freaked out because of a bird spontaneously chirping. But then I got a message from that account telling me and the first friend were ugly and that I should kill myself. No specifics this time, which I make light of this situation so much that, okay, everyone else, like, this account, she had, like, a specified way of, like, telling them to kill themselves, but with me, she was, like, so lazy. Oh, I was, like, honestly offended. Like, can you, like, give me some better insults? Like, please. But, she just told me that, and then she was like, no wonder you have acne because of your ugly skin. And, I forgot to mention this, but ever since first grade, I've had acne. It's gotten better pimple-wise, but pore-wise, it's gotten a lot worse. You can't see on camera, I hope, and you can't see it in the pictures of myself on Instagram. Even at that time, you couldn't see. Like, you could only see, like, pimples and stuff. But I was taking care of that. But then, like, she was like, no wonder you have acne because of your ugly skin. And then, basically, it just was kind of, like, back and forth. Me defending myself and insulting her and, like, firing back. And then her saying something. At some point, she called me a gay 5-year-old boy. That was probably the highlight of that conversation. But then she also messaged my other friends, and she had a really good insult for the last one, and I was offended that she didn't, like, that she had saved the insult for not me, but for my other friend. I was like, man, you could have had such better insults. Like, why did you have to go lazy on me? Offended. Like, I make light of the situation so much, it's terrible. But the thing I was worried about most was my friends, because it was 1, 2, 3, 4 of my friends, 4 of my closest friends, 4 of my only friends, like, basically. And so, the thing I was worried about most was my friends, because I have a very thick skin. As you can tell, I'm not affected by any insults because, like, I just don't care. I don't care about insults. Like, call me whatever you want, but, like, I don't care. It doesn't affect me. But my friends are different. With something like this, they are a lot more sensitive, and that's the thing I was mainly, like, concerned about, was that they would take too much of this, like, personally and, like, to heart. And so, like, because I just have such a thick skin that, like, I just am not affected by insults, especially insults online where the person doesn't know my life, especially a person I don't know, who we had suspicions that it was someone that had been mean to my friends in the past, but we got no, like, specifications on who it was, but it was just this big, like, string of just, like, insults, and it was just this cyberbullying. And to one of my friends, the bully said, bully sounds so immature. I don't want to say bully because it sounds, the person had said, like, oh, if I knew where you lived, I would kill you and then take pictures and send them to all your friends. Like, she said that to my friend. Like, no, you don't do that. That is my friend. You are not allowed to hurt her. Not even, like, threaten her. Like, do not. It's all the side stories aside. But my timeline is all off. I keep forgetting to mention things. So now, all of that has passed. Now we enter the most recent move. Into a house, actually. A 4-bedroom house 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and I really like this house. Actually, I kind of hate it. I kind of hate it because of the temperature of my room. Sorry, I have like hiccups or something, but the temperature of my room is like really hot. I have the hottest room in the house. Just my luck. And so this is the most recent move where I actually got rid of the bunk bed. Hey, but I finally got rid of that, and I actually have one of Stephanie's old beds. And so I have a queen size bed now instead of the twin size. And so this is the most recent move. It's a rental. We're gonna be in it for less than a year more. We moved in like a little bit before Thanksgiving, I think, and the lease isn't up until like March or May next year. So we have a long way to go. But that's the most recent big thing that's happened. I recently just got a hamster, so I'm like a mother to a pet. And Nina, you've already kind of met her in not last week, but was it last week? No, wait, I'm all messed up. I don't know what week it was. I don't know if it was 2 weeks ago or 1 week, but I don't know. But in like one of the videos, meet Nina, meet my hamster, you know. So yeah, you already know I have a hamster. But then, okay, so this is where I'm going to talk about mental stuff, which is where it kind of gets a little more sad, a little more like iffy. So if you don't like hearing about like very sad head things, like stuff going on in brain, like if you don't like hearing about mental illness and eating disorders, then skip ahead. I don't know, just like don't watch the rest of this video, I guess. But as I said, in 4th grade, mental health kind of went downhill. It only got worse from there. Today, I do struggle with severe depression. I have attempted self-harm multiple times, but it's never like become a habit. And I just, some days, well, the bad days are the really bad days, and I just generally, I just don't like myself. It goes all the way from my looks to my personality and the way I talk and like who I am and my views on like the world. And so I also have really bad anxiety. I will have anxiety attacks out of nowhere, but not frequently. Usually it's when I'm really uncomfortable physically or mentally, and I will just break down and I can't breathe. Like, I can't breathe normally. Like, it's really heavy, it's really quick, and like, it's really bad. But I do, again, struggle with anxiety and depression. I've gone to therapists. It doesn't help because I have trust issues and commitment issues, like, and I believe that's from the divorce. And I just can't really get too into detail about my depression and anxiety because I just don't want to, and because I don't want people to try to help because they can't help. And also, onto the eating disorder thing, my whole life, ever since the divorce, I've been a very selective eater, and it's become a trend in my life. Like, literally, there are some foods I just will not try. I cannot eat certain foods because, like, it's very hard to explain because people have just labeled me as a picky eater or a fussy eater, and just, I hate when people think it's like a choice, because it's not. I can't control that I don't like certain foods, and I will literally refuse to try new foods if they don't smell good, if they don't look good, and just that type of thing. And people don't understand that, and that's 1 out of 2. It's basically become an eating disorder. I don't know if it actually, like, is a named disorder, but it's become so bad that I'm just naming it as an eating disorder because it's gotten so bad. And so my second one is I've kind of fallen into the binge eating thing. I overeat to deal with stress, sadness. I eat when I'm bored all the time. I can't help it. Like, I can't. And I eat too much whenever I do have my binge episodes. So that's also a thing. Now, I forgot, I didn't mention this earlier, but I want to mention it now. I have a skin condition that has affected me throughout my life. I have dermatographia, or skin writing, as it's usually called. But basically, if I itch on really any part of my body other than the palms of my hands and the soles of my feet, it will welt up and, like, inflame and be red or white or both. Now, it looks like I'm breaking out in hives sometimes, and okay, this is especially bad because I scratch my arm when I'm, like, bored and, like, I have nothing to do. Like, if I'm, like, in class or something, I'll, like, just, like, scratch my arm, like, lightly, as if I was just, like, scratching an itch, and then it'll, like, welt up and stuff, and then people will be like, what's wrong with your arm? And I'm like, oh, hold up. It's nothing. It's a skin thing. Like, because no one knows what dermatographia is, like, in my town. Because, like, I've never seen anyone in real life who has the same skin condition as I do. I actually didn't even know I had a skin condition up until, like, a year ago. Like, I thought I just had sensitive skin, and that was the end of it, because that's all people had ever told me, like, my parents and stuff. And then I saw a video on YouTube about this lady who could draw on her skin, like, just by scratching it, and I was like, wait, that's exactly what I have. Like, oh, now I know I have dermatographia, and there's other people on the internet that have it too, and that's where I'm really, like, kind of finding that, you know, not the only one that has this, but, like, it's still hard because I've never met anyone in my life that has had the same skin condition as me. So this is really all I have to talk about my life so far, and there's still so much I want to do with my life, and so that's it for this week. So I will see you guys in next week, and I hope you watch the other girls' videos this week as well. So peace out.